Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Alright, so no matter how much harm Brian Stelter may have caused in his career, no matter how many times he lied and promoted garbage narratives, how much he sowed division and confused the American public with his awful fake news journalism, no matter how much I despise Brian Stelter with my whole heart, no matter how much it's justified, I still kind of feel bad for him. Little Bri, little former CNN potato. You gotta learn when to just give it up. I mean, come on. Why are you doing this to yourself? You have suffered a decade of embarrassment. And you know what? You were probably paid handsomely for it. At one point, isn't enough just enough? It's to the point where little Bri Stelter, I think, has nothing left. He's got no more dignity, and so he just doesn't care. He's willing to be the laughingstock. Or the guy's a freaking masochist. He's got some sort of humiliation fetish. Excuse the crude comparison, but it's the only thing that comes to mind because, I mean, it's just nothing but nonstop public humiliation. And he keeps putting himself in these positions. The guy could go right for Vanity Fair and, kind of cease to exist in the public eye, but instead he insists on doing these public events, on showing up on C-SPAN and taking calls and getting absolutely roasted like a damn baked potato, or getting totally humiliated live on air by just a journalist asking him questions. It's the Michael Wolff situation once again. Brian Stelter goes on News Nation Now, probably expecting it's gonna be easy, and boy oh boy, it got awkward, and it got awkward fast. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so we don't need too much extra added context. You guys know who Brian Stelter is, you know the deal. Take a look at his appearance on News Nation Now.
I want to ask you about leaving CNN. You recently, relatively recently, left CNN, and clearly they kind of pushed you out as they announced they were.
I've embraced the F word, Dan. Fired.
You got fired. Why do you think you got fired?
I don't know.
Really? You really don't know?
I really, truly don't know. I know I had a popular show by CNN standards, and I know that it was pretty cheap to produce. But I also know every show gets canceled eventually. Sorry. Knock on table, okay?
Yeah.
Every show gets canceled eventually, and so I was content with it. But I think what CNN's trying to do is what I just said. Lower the temperature, lower the volume. And I'm rooting for them because we need to have a lot of news networks in this country. We need a wide variety of news sources that are just trying to gather the facts.
The CEO, Chris Licht, has talked about wanting to emphasize news, for example, over opinion, right? And do you think you represented the kind of opinion, particularly from the left, that Chris Licht wanted to distance himself from? Because I think that's why he ended up letting you go.
Well, I'm just going to let you say it then.
Yeah.
I think we were doing really fantastic journalism at CNN for the 9 years that I was there. I also think Fox News really enjoyed making me a target and using horrible names about me and all that sort of stuff that happens in the cable news wars. And I think they enjoyed seeing me leave CNN.
We think that part of the reason that he got let go was because Fox News was constantly making fun of him.
Yeah, look, that's something that I wonder, but I'm very happy, content not knowing exactly what happened.
Now, my apologies, I kept calling the network News Nation Now. It's actually just News Nation. I slightly misremembered it, but whatever, it's a pretty small outlet. Let's try to stay on track here, though. Again, utter humiliation. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. And it's funny because he's trying to pretend as if he's over it and he's accepted reality, while at the same time simultaneously showing us just how totally delusional he is. I've accepted it. I've accepted the F word. Fired. I was fired, he claims. Trying to present emotional strength as if he's come to terms with the fact that he's been fired. Except he hasn't at all. He avoids any responsibility, avoids to accept the obvious, the stated obvious by the network itself, that he was on the chopping block because he essentially represented a CNN of old, or a CNN that the new ownership group was trying to leave behind in the past, a partisan, dishonest, left-wing CNN that Brian Stelter was the face of. If he truly had come to terms with it all, if he really had a moment to be introspective and think about his past, he would know why he got fired, and he knows why he got fired, of course. But he's either lying to you or he's lying to himself by claiming that he has no idea. You have no idea, really. If you're actually an employee with a contract, I'm pretty sure your employer has to, give you a reason as to why they're firing you. Brian knows exactly why he got fired. It's not that all shows inevitably end up getting canceled, and By the way, that was kind of like almost like a cheap shot that he was taking towards the host. Well, all shows get canceled. Your show's gonna get canceled too. What a weird, defensive, and cringe thing to say. But once again, even out of his CNN chair, he's just as dishonest and snaky as he always was. Unable to face reality, unable to say the truth. You were fired because you're a lying hack, and everybody knows it, and that's why I don't understand why you keep making these public appearances. You know the prevailing sentiment. Joe Rogan said it best.
Remember when CNN was talking about podcasters, about how, that there's people on YouTube that get more views than a CNN show, as if it was some horrible thing. They didn't even understand the way they were describing it. They were describing it as if they're entitled to viewers.
That's right.
They were saying, there's people on YouTube right now that get more views than this show. This is because the market is spoken.
Right.
And your show's terrible.
That's right.
Well,
they suck.
Brian
They're terrible at their
Stelter's
job.
show keeps slipping and slipping and slipping in the ratings.
He's the worst. And you know
Same
what they
with Don
do?
Lemon. It's the same thing. Everybody knows that they're not real. They're not real humans.
Joe Rogan's not even necessarily tuned into politics. He's more of a culture guy, but he represents the average American guy. He watches CNN every now and then, probably. He's gotten a little bit of a Brian Stelter taste tester. He's got a sour taste in his mouth like the rest of us. You know that that's the sentiment. You know that people know the truth. You know that the anchor, the person on News Nation who is interviewing you, knows the truth, and he asks you the question. And you don't like it, of course, because you leftists hate one thing more than anything. You don't like it because it's reality and you know it. That you got fired because you are fake news. Man, I know I started the video by saying that I feel bad for Brian Stelter, but after rewatching the clip, I actually don't. He's still the worst. Not only can he accept the basic fact that he's a lying hack and got fired because he's a fake news journalist, he says, during the 9 years of my time at CNN, we did some fantastic journalism. Like what exactly? Promoting Michael Avenatti as a future presidential Democratic contender? Promoting Russia nonsense stories with no evidence? What is this fantastic journalism that you did? But not only does he try to defend his track record, he then does what he always does, and honestly what probably led to his firing. He goes on and on about Fox News. They were bullying me. He tries to play the freaking victim. Well, I don't know why I got fired. Maybe it has something to do with Fox News making me the target and bullying me. People were making fun of me. No, Brian, you're not the victim. You're a notorious fake news anchor. You're a liar. You did nothing but sow discord in American society for years, and that's why you were the target of ridicule. I mean, did it help that you're you? Yeah, of course it did. But for the most part, when people were attacking you, they weren't attacking you because of the way that you look or the way that you sound. That was just kind of an added extra layer of comedy. It was for comedic effect. Almost always, when people were criticizing you, when people were making you a target, it was actually because of the things that you said, not who you are. The things that you did, not who you were or who you are, who you still clearly seem to be. The reason people targeted you is because you tried to create this persona. You marketed yourself as a fair journalist, and you would go to universities and give lectures and do interviews about what it was to be a journalist, lecturing people on journalistic ethics, yet the entire time you were an opinion guy who essentially was Jeff Zucker's puppet. All you did was promote Democrat propaganda and attack Republicans. 99% of the time, you just attacked Fox News. Not exactly independent journalism. You were a walking, talking paradox. You were a hypocrite. You still are a hypocrite. And that's why people just couldn't stand you. And on top of that, well, your face. It's just not really a good combination, to live in such denial, such copium. At the end there, Brian Stelter said he's happy, not knowing why he got fired. I mean, I wonder if that's actually what he tries to convince himself of. It's such an incredible level of delusion, I just cannot relate to it at all. I'm happy not knowing. No, you are purposely trying to convince yourself as if the truth doesn't exist and we can all see it. Little Brian, the one mistake you've always made your entire career is you've assumed that the people watching are stupid, but friend, the average person is much smarter than you can imagine, and everybody sees right through your classic BS. That's pretty much the video. I thought it was a fun little clip. Me and Brian at this point have a history, even though he probably doesn't even know who I am. For me, honestly, it feels personal after years of covering this clown and all his lies. Had to make the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Of course, you know that we'd love to have you here at the Liberal Hive Mind. Thanks for watching, friends, and I'll see you on the next one.